Please be seated. Mr. West, when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Patel.
Good afternoon, Mr. Don.
You met Trayvon Martin when you both were in kindergarten?
Second grade.
Second grade, but you weren't friends on up to the present time. You lost contact with him completely until just February of 2006.
In high school, when we got to high school.
And then in February of 2012, you became reconnected, if you will.
February the 1st.
The actual first day of February?
Yes, the day of my birthday, I remember.
Mm-hmm. And did you become reacquainted because Trayvon Martin would come into the neighborhood where you live
Yes.
to meet up with some of
friends.
his friends?
We're friends, yes. Dear friends. We're friends.
That Trayvon Martin would
Yes.
come to your neighborhood with his friends?
No, friends. His friends live in my neighborhood.
Okay. So he would come into your neighborhood to
Hang out, ride bikes, play games.
Mm-hmm. And is that how he met up with you again?
Yes.
And then right about February 1st on your birthday, is that when you and he began to talk and text frequently?
Laugh around, yes.
Say again.
Laugh around, yes. Laugh around, playing around, yes.
Mm-hmm. So you would then talk with him on the phone quite a bit and text with him beginning about February 1st.
Yes.
But you weren't in any way his girlfriend.
No.
And you hadn't ever actually gone on a date.
No.
From February 1st until February 26th, when he died, would you have seen him only 2 or 3 times in person?
3 times? No. I saw him a lot, before he went out of town.
When did he go out of town?
The week before he died.
So between February 1st and February 19th or 20th, you saw him a few times?
Yes.
But not in a boyfriend-girlfriend kind of way. And then when he went out of town, when he came up to Sanford, did you continue to talk with him on the phone and text him?
Yes.
And did you do that on through Sunday, February 26th, that we've been talking about here today?
Yes.
On February 26th, did you text with him throughout the morning and early afternoon?
Yes.
And then also talked with him at some length during the day?
I didn't hear what you said. What you said?
And then you talked with him a lot during the day itself?
Yes, the whole day. Text and talk.
So basically all day you and he were on the phone?
Yes. Or somebody put 3-way. We had 3-way. He put some of his friends, I put some of my friends on the phone around that time when we was on the phone.
So sometimes there would be more than just you on the phone with him?
Yes.
Okay. You're going to let me offer defendants 2A into evidence by agreement or without objection.
Okay, it's
Now
marked
been
as
marked.
2A.
That's what it says.
Where would we get a 2A?
We were finished with A through C, so we started with
Oh, I didn't know that you, this isn't state's exhibit.
Like a double A, I think.
We're
It's,
trying to make the new version, the numeric and the alpha and the similar.
okay, nobody told me they've marked something up to, and if it's stipulated into evidence, it would come in as 16.
Into
Is-
evidence is 16, but when you're questioning the alpha is why I was saying.
I have no objection, Your Honor.
Okay, what you have pre-marked as Exhibit AA will come into evidence as Defense Exhibit 16.
Well, Judge, I misplaced the extra copy, just for reference.
Here.
That would be fine, so that the witness could take a look at this.
You may approach her.
Just for the witness's frame of reference. It's been, Ms. Judge, this is a list of the times, the beginning time and the end time of the calls between you and Trayvon Martin on February 26th. Do you see what that looks like and see what it says? Okay, I may ask you to use that to refresh your recollection or be able to pinpoint.
It should be more.
This call record begins at 5:09:36. Do you see that?
I see it, but it ain't begin at 5:09. It began around 12 something.
Right, right. So what you're saying is that there were more calls during the day between you and Trayvon Martin than what are shown here on this list.
Yes,
Well, the list only starts at 5:09:36 p.m. Do you see that?
yes,
And then the end time of the call is marked by the other column. There's a start time and then an end time.
yes,
So, for example, the first call starts at 5:09:36 and then ends at 6:30:01. You see that?
yes,
The next call starts at 6:30:40 and then ended at 6:43:15. You see that?
yes,
The next one starts at 6:41:05 and ends at 6:44:32.
yes,
And the next one starts at 6:45:01 and ends at 6:49:17.
yes,
The next one starts at 6:49:46 and ends at 6:53:31.
yes,
The next one starts at 6:53:47 and ends at 6:53:55.
yes,
The next one starts at 6:54:00 and ends at 6:54:33.
yes,
The next one starts at 6:54:16 and ends at 7:11:47.
yes,
And then the next and final call on the list starts at 7:12:06 and ends at 7:15:43.
yes,
And these are represented to be the various phone calls, not necessarily that you made. They could be that calls that Mr. Martin made to you.
yes,
But they were calls that you and Mr. Martin were on together that evening.
yes.
Do you remember about what time Trayvon Martin told you he was leaving the house to go to the store?
6 something, 6, around 6.
Were you talking with him while he was on his way to the store?
Yes,
And did you talk with him while he was at the store?
yes,
And then did you continue to talk with him after he left the store?
yes,
Do you know which of these phone calls might have been the time when he was at the store?
nope,
There is a picture in evidence that shows Mr. Martin at the 7-Eleven at 6:23 in the afternoon. using that as a frame of reference. Do you remember talking to Mr. Martin while he was inside the store?
Yes.
And then there's also in evidence a telephone call that was made in connection with Mr. Martin being in the neighborhood at 7:09. You don't see that one on here, but I'm pointing that out to you for that time frame. From 6:23:49 until 7:09:11, I think. Is that right? Okay. That time period is what I'd like to concentrate on for the moment. Are you with me?
No, you lost me.
Trayvon Martin was in the 7-Eleven getting the snacks that you talked about at
Yes.
6:23:49, okay? Because his picture was taken by the camera at the store that's marked on that date and time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the telephone call to the police that Mr. Zimmerman made is at 7:09:34. 7:09:34. So that's the time period I'd like to concentrate on for the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing that Mr. Martin left the store at 6:23:49 or thereabouts, and Mr. Zimmerman saw him in the retreat at Twin Lakes Complex at 7:09:34, are you able to tell me about what you and Mr. Martin talked about during that time period and where, if anywhere, he went other than to the complex where his father's fiancée was staying?
That night,
Yes.
the rain had got him. The rain. He got caught by the rain. He was at the mailing place, the mailing area.
So did he tell you then as he left the store that it started to rain
Yes.
and that he ran to or walked quickly to the mail area?
Shortcut.
Pardon me?
A shortcut to the mailing area?
A shortcut from where to where? Do you have any idea?
No.
But he told you that he was going to run over to the mail area?
Yes.
Do you know if that was the mail area that was in the complex where he was staying, or is that perhaps in another complex in between the store and where he was staying?
The complex that he was staying on. Because I
Also,
had asked him where he was at. He said he's in a place where his father staying at.
it's also been indicated that it's about a mile, give or take a little, from the store to the complex where he was staying.
No, I don't know where. I don't know. I never been there.
You don't have any idea then what the distance might be?
No, I never been there.
So what I'm trying to understand from you at this point is, do you have any idea where Trayvon Martin went between leaving the store at about 6:23 in the late afternoon before the phone call was made at 7:09:34?
Wait, what? Repeat what you're saying. I'm confused. Repeat.
Well, there's about 35 or 40 minutes there between when he left the store and when he was seen in the complex. So I'm trying to understand from you, do you have any idea where he went or what he was doing at that point?
He was at the mailing place talking, telling me to check the television for the All-Star game. Did it start? Yes.
But he had to go about a mile to get from the store to what you believe is the mail place. Was there any conversation about where he was going or why it would take him so long to get there?
We were talking around.
In any event, what you believe is that after he left the store, he went right over to the mail place in the
Yeah, the rain had
complex?
caught him.
I'm sorry?
The rain had caught him from the rain. He got caught by the rain, and he did a shortcut to the melon area.
So, are you saying then that what you believe, anyway, that he was in the vicinity of the male area?
He was right by the place where the house is at, I think.
I don't follow you, sorry. I'm trying to get just a sense of perspective. As far as you can tell from what you remember saying was that when Trayvon Martin said to you that he was in the male area, that you believed that to be in the complex?
He was standing under the male area.
And you don't have any information as to where he went or why it took him so long to get there?
No.
Let's talk for a minute about how you came to be involved in the case. Do I understand correctly that the night of the event, you believed it was just a fight and that you did not think it was necessarily important to call anybody and tell them that you were on the phone with Trayvon Martin when whatever happened, happened?
I don't understand what you're talking about. What part you at? The time after I got out the phone with Trayvon?
At that point, I believe you said that when the phone disconnected,
I had called back.
And you got no answer.
No answer.
And you believed that it was just a fight.
And then I told you, I had believed that it was just a fight, and he already told me he was by his father's house, so I thought his father was going to help him, and I did hear like sounds from the back room and people could help him, so I never thought it was that deadly serious. So I had called back a number before.
So your impression that night was that whatever happened, it was a fight, correct?
Yeah, that broke out.
Right. And you don't know exactly how it broke out,
Well, no.
correct?
No.
What you do know, though, is there was a point in time when Trayvon Martin was saying to you he had lost the guy.
Yes.
And that after that, there was a time when he said he sees him again.
Yes.
And at that point, you told him to run, and he said no.
Because he said no because he was right by his father's house.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, like a couple houses away.
So what he did instead, though...
Walk faster.
Right. But what he did instead was that he turned to George Zimmerman and said, "Why are you following me?"
No.
That's the first thing you heard, wasn't it?
I had closed the door. I had a Bluetooth on. I ain't hear nothing. I had a Bluetooth on. And he would have told me that he was going to turn around. He did not tell me he was going to turn around. None of that. Or he would just end the phone call with me and say, "I'll call you back." If he was going to do that.
After he told you that he saw the man again,
He had saw the man again.
the next thing that you heard him say was, "Why are you following me?"
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered.
Overruled.
Next thing I heard, I had closed the door. And I had to say, "Trayvon, yeah, why you following me?" Yes, you can run. You right. You can go. You can go.
I'm sorry, it takes me a little bit of time sometimes to come up with the next question.
You can go.
Okay. So at that point then is when you heard what you believe Trayvon Martin to have said, "Why are you following me?"
Yes.
At that point, George Zimmerman said, "What are you talking about?"
What you doing around here?
When
What are you doing around here?
When you talked with Mr. Crump, do you remember talking with Mr. Crump on the phone?
Yeah, no, not really.
You don't really remember that?
No, because that day I was not really wanting to talk to him that much because I don't know him. I did not know him around that time. And I was so shaken up and with everything. That day I really just rushed on everything. The interview, everything was going on. The only thing I thought was about to go on that day was just the letter. The letter.
Maybe what we should do then is sort of fill in some of the gaps. And if you don't follow me, just let me know. After the event on February 26th,
Yes,
then a day or two later, you realized that Trayvon Martin had died,
yes,
and that you realized that you were the last person to have talked with him.
yes.
And you didn't report that to anyone.
What? They said they had got the person who shot Trayvon, and I never thought I was a witness of this situation.
We'll take that in smaller pieces if we could. So you realized then that you were the last person to have spoken with Trayvon Martin,
Yes, 'cause
but you did not report it to law enforcement.
no,
Did
I
not.
thought they were supposed to call you. Call the person, like track the number down, see who was the last person if somebody got shot.
Oh, you said you thought they were supposed to call you?
Yeah, they never did. So I thought I was the only witness. And
And
they
that was
had got the persons. They already had the person who shot Trayvon. And when I thought that the day there was that people was there was a witness.
You had learned then, I take it, that Trayvon Martin died and that the person that had shot him had been identified,
Yes, and was arrested.
was arrested.
Yes.
Okay, so you thought case closed.
Okay, yes.
So you didn't contact anyone to say that you were the last person to have talked with him.
Friends, they knew.
Right, not law enforcement
No.
or parents or anything like that.
No,
So you thought then that somebody at some point would figure that out with the cell phones and then contact you?
yes. That's not what officers do. Do you watch First 48?
I didn't hear you.
Do you watch First 48? They call the first number that the victim talked to.
What, I'm sorry, the first 48?
A show. First 48. When a victim died, they called the number that the victim called before, and they didn't call my number, so, and they had already got the person, so case closed, I thought.
So some time passed, I take it, and you just assumed the case was over with, and
Yeah, they already had the person who shot him.
then that changed, I take it. You realized that, in fact, George Zimmerman had not been arrested.
That Sunday, after the father had called me, that's the second time.
You realized sometime between February 26th and the time that Tracy Martin contacted you that George Zimmerman had in fact not been
February
arrested.
26th.
Right.
I thought he was arrested.
On February 26th, Trayvon Martin died.
February 26th, this is what I'll get from my friends. February 26th, they said Trayvon got shot, and the person who shot Trayvon was arrested.
When did you learn that?
My friend told me, like, when I learned that was like, that was a Tuesday.
The 2 days afterwards.
Yeah, when I really found out that he was dead.
And then nobody else had called you about the case, so you didn't take it upon yourself to talk with anybody about anybody in law enforcement or anybody connected with
No, I
Mr.
never
Martin's
thought I was a
family.
witness.
And then some time passed, about March 18th, is that correct?
17th,
March 17th.
Saturday,
Pardon me?
Saturday, March, I think it was a Saturday.
It was a Saturday in March, about the middle of March,
Yes,
around the 17th or 18th probably.
17th. That was Saturday.
Could we check that out? You believe that the 17th was a Saturday? It could have been, I don't know. But that was around that same weekend as when you got the call.
The first phone call from his father asking me, he had asked me, he see I'm the last person who had talked to Trayvon. He
So
had,
did he tell you that he had found the telephone
no,
record?
no.
that-
He just, well, yes, he had seen me the last person who had talked to Trayvon.
So he, Mr. Martin, contacted you and said he believed that you may have been the last person to talk with his son Trayvon?
He saw me the last, he seen his son's, I don't know, phone record. That was the last person that talked to Trayvon.
What you took from that was that Mr. Martin had somehow identified your number
Yeah.
as the last number, and that
Yeah.
he called you about it.
Had talked to Trayvon.
Correct. That the numbers matched up, the last one on the list.
Yes.
At that point, did you know anything more about the case?
Nope.
You didn't know that by then George Zimmerman had not been arrested?
Nope. I don't watch the news.
Nobody at school, nobody said your friend Trayvon Martin was killed and
Nope.
the person that
No.
shot him hasn't been arrested?
Nope.
You had no idea?
Nope.
In any event, how about at the wake that you talked about? I know you didn't go, but that was early March, correct? March 2nd or 3rd, around there? Do you know?
March 2nd?
You had some friends that went.
Yeah.
Had anybody told you that had gone to the wake that they knew George Zimmerman had not yet been arrested?
They didn't know either. They would have told me. They did not know either. They would have told me. Trust me, they was texting me like crazy. What was going on at the awakening. They would have told me. But they didn't tell me that. They didn't even know either. After I brought it up, like that Sunday that I had got a call from his father.
So in other words, there wasn't any talk at school, there wasn't any talk at the
Everybody was
wake?
trying to forget about it.
Nothing in the news that you heard?
I don't watch the news. The only time I watch the news is for weather.
So by March 17th or 18th, you still didn't know that George Zimmerman had not been arrested?
Nope.
You talked with Tracy Martin, and he said, would you talk with his lawyer?
That Sunday, I had received a call from a 954 number.
Let's back up first, though, to the conversation with Tracy Martin.
That is that day. That's the day that he told me, well, not me, but would you talk to my attorney?
So in the call where he said he thinks you were the last person to talk with Trayvon Martin, he wanted you to talk to
Can you
his
speak to my
attorney.
attorney?
And he did not ask you in that telephone call to contact law enforcement,
No.
but he wanted you to talk with his attorney.
Yes.
Did you know that he had an attorney at that point?
No.
Had you seen any press conferences or any news whatsoever
I had
where
told
his
you I don't
attorney
watch
spoke?
news. I do not watch news.
So Mr. Martin asked you if you'll talk with his attorney, correct?
Yes.
And then the next thing that happened was you got a call from a 954 number?
Yes.
And who was that?
His father.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking with Trayvon Martin's father, and he wanted you to talk with the attorney.
Yes.
Okay, what happened next?
That was just it. And
Did you agree?
Well, yes.
And at that point, you agreed because you thought this was a racial thing of some sort?
What? The situation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really.
Didn't you say
I was
that?
really confused.
Didn't you say that in your statement, that the reason you got involved was because you thought it was a racial thing?
What interview?
We'll come back to that, but let's continue with the sequence. So after you have the conversation with Mr. Martin, he wants you to talk with his attorney,
Yes.
and then did you make arrangements to do that?
Yes. Well, no.
Who made arrangements?
The next, nobody. We just hung up the phone. That's it.
And then did you wait for someone to call you?
Yes.
And who called you at that point?
Not that day. The next day, March the 19th. That was a Monday. That Monday, I went to school. I got a phone call. I did not answer. They left a voice message, and then they left me a long text.
When you say they, who are you speaking of?
His mother.
And you know...
His mother.
You know Trayvon's mother to be Sabrina Fulton.
Yes.
And Sabrina Fulton sent you a text wanting you to talk with the attorney?
Yes.
And you agreed to do that later that day?
Yes. I wanted to talk to my mother for she can agree for me to talk to her and her attorney.
Your mother was out of the country, though.
Yes.
So...
She didn't know my mother was out of the country. She don't know my mama.
No, I was just confirming that you knew your mother was out of the country.
Yes.
And you wanted to talk with your mother?
She wanted to talk to my mother. She didn't know my age.
You lied to her and said you were 16?
Yes.
Did you get that down? You want to talk to my mother?
She wanted to speak to my mother before she talked to me.
Did you say she knew my age?
She didn't know my age.
She didn't know my age. Thank you.
Ms. Fulton wanted to talk with your mother, correct?
Before she talked to me, and
And is that because you lied about your age?
she didn't know my age. She thought I was a minor, just like Trayvon.
But you weren't, actually. You were 18.
Yes.
So you could make the decision yourself?
Yes.
And is that what happened?
Kindly, I called her. My mother had a cell phone. You can reach her out of town from Haiti. I called her. I didn't tell her everything. I just told her to say no. And that lady didn't say no. She agreed to the interview.
Your mother agreed to allow you to be interviewed by the Martin family attorney?
Yes, I had told her, don't say, because I really did not want to meet the mother. Definitely that way situation.
I didn't hear you.
I really did not want to meet the mother that way in a situation of her son.
You didn't want to meet...
Sabrina?
You didn't want to meet her? Mm-hmm. Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Because of the situation?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you agreed to the interview with her attorney?
Yeah, she just asked me to speak to the attorney. And then, okay, you get me confused. Can I tell you what happened that day? That March 19th, that day.
Is that the day that you had the interview?
Yes.
Well, sure. It might be easier if you just go ahead and tell it, and then we'll go from there.
All right. That Monday, I had got a phone call. I did not answer. I had a text by Sabrina. She had told me, hi, this is Sabrina, blah, blah. I don't know all the thing. Well, can I speak to your mother, please? And I had told her, I I had told her that my mother would deal with the situation later. And she had said, okay, just tell your mother and reach me on this number. And I said, okay. So that day after school, I had called my mother and I had told her, because I know they wanted to meet up with me, so I had to.
Who is they? I don't want to interrupt. Who wanted to meet up with you?
This is her. Sabrina, the mother, to speak to me what happened about that night that her son died. And I had told my mother, I told her to say no, because my plan was to give her that letter, just give it to her, not me, but one of my friends who had known her, who was working for her. Give her the letter, and I'll be done with it.
So.
But when my mother I put my mother on three-way. I had called her, and then I had explained to her, not everything, just say no. And then I had called my mother, and I called Sabrina, and I already told my mother what to say. And I left the phone for like 2 minutes, and next thing I hearing her agree for me to meet Sabrina.
All right, so your mother agreed
To interview.
for you
To meet Sabrina.
to meet with Miss Fulton.
Yes.
And you thought that if you did, that would be the end of it?
What?
I thought you said you could meet with her, or you could give her a letter, and that would be the end of it.
Well, did you tell her a little bit what happened? Because
Sure.
she was, the text message say what happened that night when her son died.
Well, of course. You would certainly expect that, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Of course, who wouldn't? So at that point, no one had talked with you about what you knew that had happened.
Yeah.
Okay? So you agreed to talk with Ms. Fulton and tell her what happened?
Yeah. I agreed.
You didn't really want to?
No. Cause
Did you feel like you were caught in the middle?
what?
Did you feel like you were caught in the middle here?
No, it just. The truth.
So this is
The truth. I never wanted to see somebody cry. I'm not the kind of person who wants to see people cry.
Of course.
I'm not an emotional person. Yeah, her son did.
So you knew then that when you had the meeting with Ms. Fulton that it would be a tough one for her?
Yeah, and definitely to hear that I was the last one to even talk to her son.
Of course. You knew that she would be very interested to know because... Emotional, because there were a lot more questions than answers at that point in the case. Correct?
Yes.
So you wound up doing that, am I correct? That you met with Ms. Fulton? And was that on March 19th?
Yes.
And did you tell her generally what you knew about the event?
I told her a little bit. When I saw her, I gave her the letter, and she did not even open the letter. She just asked what happened. She just wanted to know what happened that night. And I had told her that Trayvon being followed that night.
Were you trying to make it easy for her to understand?
Yeah. And then she opened the letter.
Were you using the words that Trayvon Martin spoke?
What?
When you told her what happened, did you use the words that Trayvon Martin spoke?
He was being followed?
No, about
No.
You cleaned it up, in other words.
Yeah, he was just being followed.
You just said a man was following him.
Yes. I didn't go examples, and she had asked a lot. I didn't tell every detail. I just told her that she was being followed. He was being followed.
Mhm. And did you basically explain the
I didn't.
short form,
Yeah.
the short version, that you had cleaned up the language and you had basically said he was being followed?
That's
and,
it.
And then
That's just it. He was just being followed.
And did you tell her that you thought it was just a fight?
Yes.
Did you tell her that Trayvon Martin had said, why?
No, I didn't tell her that.
But you told her that
I told her on the text, not on the text, but the letter.
And the letter is something that you and your friend wrote down?
Yeah.
And that was a letter that you thought you might be able to give to...
That was plan A, to give it to her, because I didn't plan to see her. Like, no, I ain't planning to see her. I just agreed. I just said, okay, I'll just go and just give her the letter.
Is that partly why you didn't go to the memorial service, was because you didn't want people there to know you were the last person and that you didn't want to talk to Ms. Fulton about that?
What? The funeral? Why I didn't go to the Zimmerman? I didn't want to see the body. I did agree with my friends that I was going to go. You gotta understand.
In order...
You got to understand.
You
You're the
didn't...
last person to talk to the person, and you down on the phone. After you talk to him, you got to understand what I'm trying to tell you. I'm the last person. You don't know how I felt. You think I really want to go see the body after I just talked to him?
I understand what you're saying, but what you did instead was, instead of saying...
I did not even know he was out. I did not even watch the news. I don't watch the news. I heard there was on the media. There was on local news. I did not know about that.
Okay, I knew that it was emotionally difficult for you to decide whether or not to go to the memorial service.
Yes.
And you decided not to.
Decided not to go.
Sure. And then what you did in order to explain that to Ms. Fulton and then to Mr. Delarianda under oath was that you created a lie and said that you'd gone to the hospital.
Yes.
So when you told Ms. Fulton what was happening on this March 19th meeting, you told her that you'd gone to the hospital. And that's why you didn't go to the funeral?
I told her, yes.
And then you gave her the letter?
I gave her a letter.
And had you agreed at that point to be interviewed by her attorney?
Yes.
And was your purpose at that point to do what you could do to assist so that George Zimmerman got arrested?
Yes.
And what you did then was you had a recorded telephone interview with the family attorney.
Yes.
You were supposed to see them in person, is that right?
Yes.
But you didn't go, or they changed the plan, or why didn't you see them in person?
They agreed it'll be better for them on the phone.
Who agreed?
First, it's supposed to be in person. That's what she told me. Me somewhere else in this place. First, she told me I was about to leave to go to my friend's house.
And where were you supposed to meet them to have
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Was it at a house?
No.
Was it at a studio?
I don't remember where.
Were you supposed to be recorded for television?
No, I did not know about no television.
You didn't know that your interview was going to be recorded for broadcast?
No.
So, how did the plan change? You thought it was going to be an in-person meeting, but then it turned out to be a telephone interview.
Yeah.
Who told you that we're not going to do it in person, we're going to do it on the phone?
I don't remember. It had to be by Crump, I think.
Did he give you a call and just say, we've changed the plan?
It was her number. It was her number. I think he was a three-way.
You believe there was a three-way conversation that included Ms. Fulton and Mr. Crump?
Yes.
And that Mr. Crump told you there's
If
been
they
a change
think
of
better
plans?
for me to be recorded on the phone.
Before, the plan was that you would be in person, but you didn't know if there was any plan to actually record you.
I didn't know about the ABC record.
Right.
No, I did not know about that. Recording from Crump, yes, I knew about that. Because he had told me, talk louder, this will be recorded. And I said, yeah.
So was that something that was worked out in advance, that you knew you were going to be recorded and that there would be people there listening to the interview?
The mother and the attorney and the father, yes.
So what the plan was for your interview with the family attorney was that you would be on the phone at one end, and on the other end would be the family attorney who would be asking you the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Martin and Ms. Fulton would also be there.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know anybody else would be there?
Mm-mm.
Nobody told you that
No.
a reporter from ABC News would be present?
No,
Nobody told you that no police officers would be present?
no, I don't know.
Or other family members even?
No.
So tell me how that came about then. This is on March 19th, and you agree to be interviewed on the telephone, and
Yes,
you agreed to be recorded.
yes,
You'd already told Ms. Fulton basically the short version of what had happened.
he was being followed.
Pardon me?
He was being followed, the short version.
Right, of course, and you gave her the letter.
Yes,
And on the three-way call with the family attorney, had you sort of briefed them as to the basics, including that you had gone to the hospital instead of the wake, you lied to them?
when me and the mother before, she had asked why I had not went to the awakening. I tell her the truth about not why I didn't go to the awakening, so I lied to
Right.
her.
And you weren't under oath?
No, and I knew she was on the phone with me and Crump, so she could have heard. He had asked me why I was not on, why did I not go to Awakening. I had lied again and said, oh, I was at the hospital.
Is that during the three-way call that you're talking about?
Yeah,
And then you told Mr. Crump that you had lied. No, I'm sorry, you told Mr. Crump that you'd gone to the hospital instead of the wake, which was a lie.
yes,
And you also lied and said that you were 16?
I don't remember saying that, but I did tell him I did not want my age out.
Did you say that you were 16 so that you could try to maintain more privacy?
Yes,
So you wanted to make yourself seem like a minor so that maybe there wouldn't be as much public disclosure as if you said your true age of 18?
yes,
So you told Ms. Fulton that you were 16?
yes,
Did you tell Mr. Crump that too?
yes,
And you told both of them that you had gone to the hospital instead of going to the wake.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained,
yes.
May we approach?
yes.
I'd like to make a speaking objection, so I'd like to approach.
Well, you can't make an objection, it was your question.
I'm sorry.
You can't make an objection to your own question. You said you wanted to make a speaking objection. You want to respond? Yes, you may approach.
Thank you, Ms. Gentile. We were talking a minute ago about statements that you may have made during the three-way conversation with Mr. Crump and Ms. Fulton. I'd like to move to the actual recorded interview that was done over the telephone.
Yeah.
Was that the same day, later the same day?
March 19th.
Is that right?
Yes.
And where were you when it was when you were being interviewed?
A house.
Pardon me?
My house.
Your house, okay. Do you know where the other parties were?
No.
Would you describe for us how that interview took place?
On the phone.
Of course. Did they call you?
Yes.
And did you have a conversation prior to starting the recording about the kinds of questions you would be asked?
No.
Did you have a conversation about who was going to be present in the room?
Yes.
And what were you told about who would be present in the room?
The parents and the attorney.
And that's all?
Yeah.
Had you given consent at that point to having this interview recorded?
Yes.
And had you given consent to having any part of it broadcast or released to the public?
No.
Was the interview done for the purposes of releasing parts of it to the public?
No. I never knew there was public on the media.
You didn't know that the interview would be released or parts
No.
of it would be used in a press conference?
The situation, yes. The situation, I never knew they was on local media. I never knew they was on TV at all.
Did you know when you were giving your interview that parts of the recording that was made would be released to the public at a press conference?
No.
Say again?
No.
Were you told at different points in time during the interview to repeat things so that the person running the recorder could be sure to get them again or get them the way they wanted them?
Yes.
Pardon me?
Yes. I speak low.
So there were certain things in the interview that you were told to repeat so that the recording would be precise as to that issue.
Yes. Loud. Yes.
And you did.
Yeah. Yes.
And you were asked during the interview certain specific questions about what had happened that evening in Sanford on February 26th.
Yes.
One of the, well, let me ask you this, sorry. Did you ever hear the press conference where certain parts of what you said were played?
The next day?
Whenever?
Next day, I got a phone call, a text from my brother. It had said he heard my voice on television.
Could you make a special effort to speak up? We're having such a hard time hearing you.
The next day, my brother had texted me, had said, "Do you know your voice is on television?"
I take it you didn't.
No.
So what did you learn about that?
I was not really paying focus on the tape. I was just shocked that my voice on television.
The next day your face was on TV?
No, my voice.
And do you believe that what was on TV was part of the recording of the interview the day before?
The television didn't show all the recording. They just but gave half. And I wasn't really paying attention of the how I started and all that. I was just worried about my voice.
So if I understand you, then there was a television broadcast that included parts of what you'd said the day before.
Yes.
But they didn't have any pictures of you.
No, because I had said I did not want my picture, my identity out to the public.
And did they say in that recording that you were the 16-year-old girlfriend of Trayvon Martin?
What interview?
In what was on
The
television?
recording between me and Carl? No.
No, what I was talking about now was what was played on
Television?
TV, right. That you were identified as the 16-year-old girlfriend of Trayvon Martin.
No.
That you had been in a relationship for more than a year.
There was a person on the phone with him before he died. A female, young lady, young girl was on the phone a moment before he died.
Did you ever see the press conference that Mr. Crump gave,
No.
where he played parts of what you said?
She stated she doesn't know, so asking a question that she doesn't know an answer to, so I object.
Overall, you can answer the question.
Let me finish it first. Did you ever watch or see the press conference that Mr. Crump gave where he played parts of his interview with you?
No.
Has anyone who watched it told you about it?
Yes.
And did they tell you how you had been presented as a 16-year-old girl and the girlfriend of Trayvon Martin?
Yes.
And that wasn't true, was it?
No.
None of it
It
was
seemed,
true.
it was
You weren't
seen.
16 and you weren't his girlfriend.
No, it seemed because the text message.
The relationship?
Yeah.
Did you give the text messages to anybody in the Martin family or Mr. Crump?
No.
Did you talk about that with them?
No.
You never told them that you were Trayvon Martin's girlfriend, did you?
I don't remember. I just said stuff was going on. That's it.
Did you think that you were going to be?
No. Because there was another young lady that he was seeing.
You knew that?
Yeah.
So Trayvon Martin was in a relationship with another girl, another young lady,
Yeah.
and the relationship with you wasn't like that.
No.
So you just considered yourself like phone friends or pals?
Friends.
But there were so many texts, weren't there? Hundreds and hundreds? In just a
Some of
two-week
the texts
period?
is not even me. Some of the texts are not even me texting him. My friend got my phone and we texting him several things.
It's like a three-way texting thing?
What?
I don't know
No,
what-
texting him from my phone and he thinking that's me. Did you see the text?
Yeah, so are you saying then that sometimes your friends would text Trayvon Martin using your phone and he would think it was
Yes,
from
when
you?
I'm busy doing something or driving, they would text for me.
So a lot of the texts then are from other people?
Just two, that's it.
Just two?
Yeah, two.
But you were there with them when they made them?
Yes, they was in my house, yes, in the car, yes.
But there were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of texts.
Some are me, I'm not gonna deny it. Some are me, some are not me.
I kind of got off
Well,
it
like
even once.
around when I met you,
Right.
yes.
Did you listen to it all the way through?
During our interview, between me and you,
Well, let's set the stage a bit. We met at a deposition in March of this year, and then
March
again,
15th,
yeah, thereabouts, sure.
March 15th, Wednesday. Two o'clock. 2 o'clock something.
Right.
Well,
We didn't have an interview, did we?
no.
We hadn't finished on Wednesday.
You interviewed his brother.
Right, we were interviewing several people, and you knew that.
Yeah,
You were kind of,
but we agreed to that Friday.
and then we had
You
a schedule.
said, this is what you said, well, not you, but your partner had said, oh, between Trayvon's brother and me, it'll be better if you interview his brother before me. We'll do it next time. Not you, but him.
Because of scheduling.
No, he took 4 hours. In my interview, the third interview took 4 hours. I could have did my 4 hours.
I'm sorry that you were inconvenienced, but we did not have the interview on Friday because of scheduling issues. Would you agree with that?
You should have picked me up on Thursday.
Sure. We then were able to meet again the next month.
April 30th.
Okay, good enough. So what I'm trying to get at now is that you said you had in fact listened to your interview with Mr. Crump when we first met. Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
And was that during the deposition itself or before?
the day of the interview between.
But before you and I spoke?
No, the same day.
You hadn't ever listened to your interview before that day?
Not the whole interview, no.
In the interview, there was a discussion of the interview, what I mean is the interview that Mr. Crump did of you on the phone that was recorded on or about March 19th.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that interview, you were describing for him what it was that Trayvon Martin said to the man. And you said,
He did not say describe. He said he just asked what happened that night.
right, and in response to that, you said that Trayvon Martin said to the man, "Why are you following me?" And the man's response was, "What are you talking about?"
I did not say that. I did not say that. I don't recall I said that.
And then you changed it. And then you said,
Crump
"What are you
interview,
talking about?"
I can explain Crump interview.
Okay?
Crump interview, I really did not want to do the interview with Crump. So I hurry up on Crump interview because I really did not want to be on the phone talking about a situation, deadly situation. I don't talk about death. So
You didn't-
Crump interview, I rushed it out. I had told you from it when we met, I had rushed it. And I had told the state I rushed on Crump interview. Crump interview is nothing. Crump interview don't mean nothing to me.
You didn't didn't take it seriously?
Nope.
If you weren't going to take it seriously, why didn't you just refuse to do it?
I already there on the phone.
But you're at your home, right?
In the closet. You think I wanted to be in the closet that long?
My question is, if you didn't want to do the interview, why didn't you just say no? I'll talk to the police instead.
No, it was already there, and I had agreed to the interview, so why am I say no? It's already too late.
So at that point, you felt you were committed to it,
Yes,
so you had to go through with it,
yes,
but you weren't taking it seriously.
I'm rushing on that.
You weren't even paying particular attention to what you were saying?
I was.
Okay, so when you were telling Mr. Crump that Trayvon Martin said, "Why are you following me?" the first response that you gave to Mr. Crump that is attributed to the other man, George Zimmerman, is, "What are you talking about?" And then you changed it and said,
Objection, improper impeachment.
Sustained.
a moment for the proper impeachment.
Let me mark this, please. Sure. This is a CD of a portion
Of the interview that we're referring to now.
The market is double B.
Sure.
Trish, is that what it is?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
This is, just to kind of set the stage, this is the part of the interview that we obtained through ABC News, not from Mr. Crump. So that's the specific aspect of this that we're referring to.
Okay, and
Your Honor, may we approach the bench regarding this issue?
yes, you may. 15-minute recess. If you'll stay seated for just a moment. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your notepads face down on the chair and follow Deputy Jarvis back into the jury room. T, can you listen? Your testimony with anybody until you're finished, so you're still on the stand. Corporal Demps will help you out. Court will be in recess for 15 minutes.